I know. You hope the eyes light up, but you just don't know. If we could have everybody take their seats, please.
And you did not tell me this was your 50th anniversary.
Oh, no problem.
Oh my God.
We're good. Good morning, and welcome to those gathered in this setting. It feels a little different this morning not to be able to talk and hug and interact in the way with each other that we would like to do, especially in these moments when that is most needed and desired. But what we do have in common this morning are the feelings and thoughts of missing Steve. Our hearts and our minds are quickened with memories, with stories, and with moments in which Steve was an intimate part of our lives. This is the time to be in touch with those feelings, with those thoughts, and allow them to be present with each of us. He is missed, and he will be remembered. And welcome to those who join us by watching the recording of this celebration of Steve's life. Thank you for taking time to remember Pam and her family. Pam has mentioned that what she has greatly appreciated the last couple weeks is the contact from many of you, of seeing pictures, hearing stories, moments you shared with Steve. Please remember in the days and weeks to come to continue your support, especially in this time when physical contact is restricted. So cards, phone calls, email, text. Be creative in ways that you can find to let Pam and her family know you remember them and you miss Steve also. This is a service of celebration. While there is intense sadness and longing for Steve's presence with us, our time together is a time of celebration and remembering what Steve did in his lifetime and who he is and who he was to each of us. The family has already shared in several celebrations. Last Monday was Steve's birthday, and so they had his favorite meal together. The family has also traveled to Lamoni and played hole number 2, I believe, on the golf course. Hole number 2, if you remember, is the par 5, the long course, the longest hole on the course. If you visit there are plans now for a tree to be planted, a bench and a plaque to be imposed at that point in the golf course. So take a moment and sit and relax and remember Steve. He enjoyed playing golf. Today, August 8th, is Pam and Steve's 40th anniversary. So we honor their lives together, the care and love they shared for so many years, especially the last several when unusual loving care was needed. This celebration will serve as a reminder of the caring, kind, engaged, relationship-driven life that Steve lived. So open your hearts, so open your minds. Allow those memories and images to be present with you, to be real, lived again, as we celebrate Steve's life.
Hi, my name is Brad Clausen, and it is a huge honor for me to talk about Steve Peck. I'm a huge fan of Steve's. I'm a raving fan of Steve's. And I found that this moment is extra special for me that I wanted to even do it outside. Most of the time, probably 90% of my time with Steve has been outside, whether it's fishing, golfing, playing baseball, tennis, softball. We were outdoor friends. Steve has been my friend for over 45 years. He was a student teacher at my school when I was in 5th grade. He came back to Lamoni High School and Lamoni Junior High and was my reading teacher. He coached me in baseball, he coached me in basketball, taught me a jump shot, and most importantly, he taught me how to play golf. And after he taught me how to play golf, we spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours on the golf course talking about life, talking about families, talking about right and wrong, good and bad. No one other than my parents has had a bigger influence on the person I've become than Steve Peck. When I got married for the first time in 1984, Steve was my best man. But Steve wasn't just my best man, Steve was the best man. Whatever room Steve was in, Steve was the best man. He was so good. He was a pure soul. He wanted the best for everyone he came in contact. He spent his whole life being a teacher, and a lot of those years a special education teacher. He was a dedicated coach, and I'm sure a lot of you that are watching were either a student or one of his players. And you know, being one of those myself, I know how magical he was as a coach. Probably the biggest honor in my entire life has been when Steve Peck, Superman, who was the greatest person, greatest athlete I'd ever seen, named his son after me, Brad Peck. And I've always cherished that. It was such a magical moment for me. But most especially, I wanted to honor Steve by talking about the person Steve was. And my wife, Amy, has a special way when she's talking about someone who's a big fan of yours, when you talk about the people in your life that find you precious and find you special, and that they want the best for you. She says that those folks are for you. And we usually don't have a lot of those in our lives, but I'm so honored, I'm so lucky that Steve Peck was for me. And my guess is that almost everyone watching today would say that Steve was for you. That's what made him special. I miss him, I love him, and I know when my time comes that he'll be waiting on the first tee for me. I love you, Steve.
Steve Peck, son of Carolyn and Roy R.G. Peck, was born on August 3, 1951, in Berkeley, California. After an 11-year battle with kidney cancer, Steve passed away at home peacefully on Tuesday, July 14, 2020. Steve grew up in El Sobrante, California, a small Bay Area community where he spent most of his days from sunup to sundown playing baseball. Over the course of his childhood and teenage years, Steve received multiple awards for his outstanding athletic ability in all sports, but primarily in baseball, and then later in basketball and golf. After graduating from De Anza High School in June of 1969, where he lettered in both baseball and basketball, Steve was selected by the San Diego Padres in the 7th round of the Major League Baseball draft. However, he chose to attend college instead and decided to go to Graceland College in Lamoni, Iowa. At Graceland, Steve earned scholarships to play both baseball and basketball and earned a BA degree in education in 1973. While at Graceland, Steve led the Yellow Jackets in multiple pitching and offensive categories. In 1971, he helped lead the Jackets to a Missouri College Athletic Union Conference title in baseball with a record of 11-1. Was selected first team Heart of America All-Conference and twice selected All-District NAIA District 15. After college, but before beginning his teaching and coaching career, Steve worked for 1 year at the Sneathen family pig farm, where he claimed he had to have learned some of his most valuable lessons in life, and another year playing semi-pro baseball for Slater, Iowa. In 1975, Steve first began teaching Title I reading in Mount Ayr, Iowa. And then in 1977, he got a job in Lamoni, Iowa, teaching children with learning disabilities. Steve received his master's degree in special education from Northeast Missouri State University in 1980. Steve married Pam Johnson on August 8, 1980 in Santa Rosa, California, and they made their first home in Lamoni, Iowa, where they lived and taught at the school there. Steve was also the varsity baseball, JV basketball, and golf coach there for over 10 years. Steve and Pam's first two children, Laura and Brad, were born while they were living in Lamoni. And in 1987, they moved their family to the Kansas City, Missouri area, where Steve taught special education and coached baseball, basketball, and golf at Raytown South High School for 25 years. Over his years at Raytown South, he received multiple Coach of the Year awards and coached 5 outstanding high school players who went on to play professional baseball. Steve and Pam's third child, Sarah, was born in 1995 while they were living in Blue Springs. Steve retired from teaching in 2012, but continued coaching baseball at Truman High School in Independence, Missouri, until retiring completely from coaching in 2018 due to metastatic cancer in the brain, which required radiation and multiple surgeries. Throughout his life, Steve was always on the go. Besides playing golf, Steve loved fishing, watching old westerns on TV, playing catch, riding bicycles with his kids, and always sharing his knowledge and passion for sports and life with others. Steve will continue to be an inspiration for all of those who knew him as the one-of-a-kind husband, father, brother, son, uncle, cousin, friend, coach, mentor, and person that he was and will be in our hearts and memories forever. On a personal note, Steve was my friend for over 50 years. Lots of stories, and I'd like to share one story. I first met Steve, called him Little Stevie, I'm not exactly sure why, but in the fall of 1969, when he was a freshman at Graceland. His roommates, I think it was Larry and Ted, if I remember correctly, came and got me and said they had a friend from California that they wanted me to meet. On the way to his room, they explained that actually what they wanted to do was welcome Steve to Graceland with a 3-man lift. So they introduced me to Steve and informed him that I could lift 3 men all at once off of the floor. So they had Steve lie down on the floor on his back. They each laid on either side of him and locked arms with Steve in the middle. I straddled Steve and above and reached down and grabbed his belt and lifted, and then filled his pants with shaving cream while Larry and Ted held his arms. So that's how I met Steve Peck, and he was still my friend for 50 years. And lots of stories through the years, lots of talks, lots of poker games, lots of double dates, lots of hanging out, lots of popsicles, lots of sports, and eventually we became brothers-in-law. Didn't see that coming, but we did. And so then we had family cookouts and kids' activities and holidays and lots of slide watching. And being friends, it all started with a 3-man lift. And Steve was my friend. I'll miss him. We'll all miss him.
Hi, for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Joe Silver, and I was a student of Steve's from 1979 to 1983. 1982, really, they discontinued me from the program in 82, which I was not happy about, but I graduated in 83 from Lamoni High School. I just finished my 30th year of teaching elementary art and retired this year, and I tell you that because not because of me achieving that, but sort of because of me achieving that, because I would not have gotten there without Steve Peck. When I walked into Steve's classroom in 1979, I knew that I was safe there. I knew that that was a place that I could go and get the help I needed. And I knew that Steve was going to help me through anything that might come along, whether it be something in life or schoolwork. So I always felt very comfortable going there. And over the years, built a great friendship with Steve. Steve was one of those teachers that, no matter who you were, no matter where you came from, he was there to make sure that you knew that you were worth something, that you were worth, achieving anything that you could achieve. And he had a way of really helping you to believe that and build your confidence. And he built my confidence better than anybody ever. So I owe him a great deal for all of the successes in my life. And I luckily got to tell him that over the years. I remember Steve taking me to the ball diamond to throw the baseball around when I was in baseball to get me better at my position, which was outfield, which scared him a lot of times because I would run back and forth trying to catch the ball, and I'd look over and see Steve put his hands on his head, and I'd catch it, and he'd go, yeah. That was always kind of interesting. I was in golf. He'd help me chip and putt. We'd go up, same thing to the ball diamond, and it may be in the evenings. He didn't have to do that stuff, but he was always there to help you do those kinds of things. I do remember drawing superheroes a lot, and he wanted me to teach him how to do it, which he didn't really need from me, but he made me feel like I was the one that was teaching him how to do it. And I looked forward to every day that I would draw something at home. I looked forward to going to school and showing him what I did, and he was always so amazed by what I did, or he pretended to be, even if he wasn't. So that really helped too. Huge confidence builder for me, like I said, and I could never repay him for that. Pam, Lori, Brad, and Sarah, I know that you guys all know this so well, but your husband, Pam, and your dad, Lori, Brad, and Sarah, made a huge impact on my life. And I'm sure he did to everybody that knew him. This world is a far better place, happier place, smarter place because of Steve Peck. Teachers like him are the reason that teachers go into this profession, and I'll miss him, and I'll miss not being able to share my victories with him, but I'll always know that he was proud of me, and that gets me through pretty much everything. I would bet that he's playing golf right now, maybe with Ken Markley and Ed Hutch, which is what he should be doing.
My name is Jovan Burleson. Growing up, I was raised by a single mother and an older sister, two amazing women who were more than enough parent for anyone. So much so that I can honestly say I have never missed or really even thought about my biological father. From what I can remember, he was only in my life for about 6 years, but I'm sure he's a good person, and I hold no ill will towards him. He made his choices, and I honestly think I'm better off for it. They said that while my mama performed the role of mother to perfection, the closest thing to a father figure I ever had was a man that I didn't meet until I was 15 years old at Raytown South High School. During my sophomore year, I was suspended for, quote, looking threatening, which was apparently a thing that can happen. Being as young and dumb as I was, I wasn't aware of the racial implications behind that suspension or that what they said about the type of people I was dealing with. All I knew was that I was in trouble due to other people's feelings and beliefs, something I couldn't control. And that confusion, fear, and anger nearly sent me down a dark path that I'm pretty sure would have landed me in jail or worse. Now, I wasn't a fan of Raytown South before that incident, so losing a lot of credits like any other made by dropping out seemed even more enticing by that day by day, but because of every cloud has a silver lining, I was transferred into the classroom with one Mr. Stephen Peck. Due to my ADHD and reading disability, I had 3 sped classes, and for 2 of them, I had Mr. Peck, an odd, white-haired, mustached man who seemingly always had a joke to tell and a permanent smile on his face. If I'm remembering correctly, he was mostly a history teacher, but he was also the baseball coach, which is why some people called him Coach Peck. But I later called him that for a completely different reason. This man not only was the one to show me that I could still graduate in time, regardless of the credits, he convinced me to do so not just for my own sake, but as a way of getting back at those who said I couldn't. They want to see you fail, so why not use that against them, he asked. Make them look stupid by succeeding, and if they still think you're a threat, then just kill them with kindness. Practically, as soon as I met Mr. Peck, treated me with the respect as if I was his equal. Most teachers, especially at that school, seemed to get off on lording over students with their age, title, and experience. But Mr. Peck always told me that he learned from his students just as much, if not more, than they learned from him, and he was always seemingly genuinely fascinated with the daily lives of the people around him, regardless of who they were. On top of all that, he made learning fun and easy by showing us practical applications of everything he taught, be it through music, movies, or in my case, comic books and anime. I had to look that up. Anime is the special hand-drawn computer animation from Japan, so he had a special niche. There were days when my mama would notice how burnt out I was with school, so she'd ask whether or not I wanted to attend that day. Of course, most of the time I said no, and I spent the entire day with her and sister eating at buffets and watching movies. On exceedingly rare occasions, I actually said yes. I only went to school because I had a new drawing or story idea I wanted to run by Mr. Peck. Mr. Peck and I talked about pretty much anything and everything. He even gave me girl advice when I needed it, and back then I desperately needed it. He helped me in practically every subject. If he didn't know something, he learned it just to teach me. He even taught me how to tie my tie before graduation because he knew I didn't have a father to teach me something like that. There was very little people in the world, let alone that building, that I respected more than Mr. Peck, and it definitely showed. So much so that anytime I had a problem with another teacher, they would just send me to him instead of the principal's office. In fact, Mr. Peck was the reason why my school counselors assigned me an MP3 player that I could use during certain classes because he knew my ADHD and anger issues would become more manageable when listening to music, something that I didn't even know at that time, but is an effective method I still use this day. Mr. Peck was the definition of understanding, and I think that was because he knew the value of not being normal. I don't think I'm surprised to anyone to hear that growing up I was a weird kid, but I never had stopped him from comparing me to a younger version of himself. And it was that comparison that always made me strive to have the same unforgettable influence on people that he had on me, because he made being weird something to be proud of. Years later, when I got a job working in retail, I came up with a work mantra: based off the way Mr. Peck ran his classroom. If you come in frowning, I will make sure you leave smiling. And if you come in smiling, I'll make sure you leave laughing. No matter how old I get, there are certain things I'll never forget, thanks to him. Like the time he let me bring Full Metal Alchemist, Conqueror of Shambhala, to his history class, partly because we were studying World War II, but mostly because he was curious to know why I loved anime so much. Also, for my last 2 years of high school, he bought a present the week before my birthday because he knew there was no way I'd celebrate my birthday at that horrible school. And of course, during my senior year, Mr. Peck and 2 other teachers helped me buy a yearbook because they knew I couldn't afford one on my own and didn't want me to miss out on the high school rite of passage, going so far as to signing it before giving it to me just so he'd be the first one. Whenever a teacher asked the obligatory question of what I wanted to be after high school, what were my long-term goals, I would always say, without hesitation, immortality. Now, naturally, most of them didn't take me seriously and thought I was talking about a supernatural sense without looking any further because, of course, a weird kid would have a weird answer. Case closed. Although if they were to ask me, they would have known that I meant immortality in the same way that of Walt Disney and Stan Lee will forever live on through their artwork and influence. Needless to say, the only teacher who cared enough to dig deeper was Mr. Peck. Because of that, he's the only one that ever laughed at my goal. I owe so much of who I am to this man that words cannot describe how much he means to me. I will always live with the guilt of not being able to be there for him after I graduated, like he was for me, but I like to believe that he knew every time I called him Coach, it wasn't because this school title was appointed to him, but because 3 of the hardest years, along with my being my friend and confidant, he was also my coach, my hero, and my father. Rest well, Stephen Peck. Unlike artwork that can be lost or destroyed, your years of educating the hearts and minds of others is work that has truly made you immortal.
Baseball is grass, chalk, and dirt displayed the same yet differently in every park that has ever heard the words, "Play ball." Baseball is a passion that bonds and divides all those who know it. Baseball is a pair of hands stained with newsprint, a set of eyes squinting to read a box score, a brow creased in an attempt to recreate a 3-hour game from an inch square block of type.
Baseball is a hat I wear to mow the lawn. Baseball is a simple game of catch and the never-ending search for the perfect knuckleball. Baseball is Willie versus Mickey, Gibson versus Koufax, and Buddy Biancalana versus the odds. Baseball links Kansan and Missourian, American and Japanese, but most of all, father and son.
Baseball is the scent of spring, the unmistakable sound of a double down the line, and the face of a 10-year-old emerging from a pile of bodies with a worthless yet priceless foul ball. Baseball is a language of the very simple words that tell unbelievably magic tales. Baseball is 3 brothers in the same uniform on the same team for one brief summer, captured forever in a black and white photo on a table by the couch.
Baseball is a glove on a shelf, oiled and tightly wrapped, slumbering through the stark winter months. Baseball is some Elmer's glue, a couple of finishing nails, a hammer and black tape, lovingly applied in an attempt to coax a few more innings out of a splintered Louisville slugger. Baseball is the foreign sensation you get when placing your hand into somebody else's glove.
Baseball is Mark Sawatsky swiping his mom's Oxidol to chalk the lines for our neighborhood Sandlot game of the week. Baseball is the smell of a freshly screen-printed jersey in the hands of an 11-year-old that just made the team. Baseball is the way generations compare themselves and their idols. Baseball is molding the bill of your cap to your own personal specifications.
Baseball is a breast pocket bulging with a transistor radio. Baseball is the reason there are transistor radios. Baseball is a fifth grade history class huddled around Sister Irma and her Philco on a sunny October afternoon. Baseball is sitting in your car on a humid summer night, listening to play-by-play on the only radio that will pick up the game. Baseball is a voice in a box describing men you've never met, in a place you've never been, doing things you'll never have the chance to do.
Baseball is the potential for a no-hitter with every national anthem. Baseball is 90 feet of anticipation. Baseball is my dad hollering score updates upstairs after Mom had long ago sent us to bed. Baseball is the acquired art of extending the life of a hardball with knots, tape, and spit until the round rubber center reveals itself and ends the day's game.
Baseball is a shoestring catch, a booted ground ball, even a cleat boyer, but it's not a game for loafers. Baseball is the numbing sting of a fastball off the fist of a batter on a cold April night. Baseball is knowing when to run, when to stop, and when to slide.
Baseball is a thinking man's game that takes no brains to excel at. Baseball is a tear rolling down the cheek of a child in uniform as he watches a thunderstorm wash out the day's game. Baseball is a scribbled and blotched scorecard that can make 6-4-3 look like a ballet.
Baseball is fireworks at the ballpark every 4th of July. Baseball is experimenting with the grip of a ball in hopes of inventing a new and unhittable pitch. Baseball is pepper, 3 flies up, and home run derby played by kids in every schoolyard since before Babe Ruth.
Baseball is imitating every nuance of the stance of your favorite player. Baseball is determining who gets first ups by strangling the neck of a bat. Baseball is the anguish you feel when a Yankee gets traded to the Red Sox. Baseball is how I learned my geography. Baseball is the 4-inch high trophy that I have never thrown away.
Baseball is taught by dads to sons in the hopes that the boy will master the game that the man did not. Baseball is a dream that you never really give up on. Baseball is precious. Baseball is timeless. Baseball is forever.
The first time I met Coach Peck was in March of 2002. He had consented to let me coach with him, which began an 8-year coaching relationship. I was so blessed to work beside such a great coach and excellent man. Here are some of my thoughts about Coach Peck. He was a baseball technician. He knew both the fundamentals of the game and how to teach them. With his background in pitching, he taught his pitchers the right way to pitch so that few of them ever had arm issues. He was a baseball tactician. Coach knew the game. He coached with confidence and experienced success like few coaches. In my 8 years at South, we never had a losing season. He was a God-honoring man. Coach and I spoke often about our relationship to the Lord. His life reflected God. He had no vices. His character was reflected in his players. One rarely heard a disparaging word from Coach or the players, and hardly ever a swear word. He encouraged the players to live a good life by his example. He was the epitome of a true friend. We could talk for hours about life and sharpen each other. During games, we would sit side by side in the middle of the bench talking baseball. Invariably, there would be a number of players that would join us to listen to our discussions. He was a man that suffered with unusual grace. In our last season together, Coach found out that he had kidney cancer. He calmly and quietly took this in stride and resolutely set his face toward conquering it. Over the past 11 years, Coach suffered immensely with all kinds of cancer and surgeries, but even when it was evident he was losing the fight, he was still Coach Peck, a man of quiet dignity and caring. After I had to resign my coaching position, I always tried to stay in contact with Coach. It was purely selfish because I treasured his friendship. I was very blessed to visit in the Peck home 2 times before Coach passed away. The first visit was a time of reminiscing of our times together on the baseball field. His voice was weaker, but he was the same Coach Peck. The last time was really tough because I knew it would be our last visit. But even in his deep affliction, he was still Coach Peck. Here are some comments and words from others that knew Coach Peck. Dr. Overfelt, principal at Raytown South High School. He was one of our very best teachers and coaches. What a great human being. He was a fine man and good person. Steve was a special education teacher and one of the best I ever had the privilege of working with. Steve was proud to be a Cardinal and influenced many teenagers that walked our halls. He also influenced us. Corey Latham, baseball coach at Truman High School. He was a great man who touched many lives in a positive way. Sylvia Langhammer, a special education colleague at Raytown South. Steve Peck was the real deal, the total package. For many years, Steve was the sole male special education teacher in the special education department at Raytown South. He was the calm, rational voice in the midst of many overly excited female voices. Steve cared about kids and was a dedicated teacher. He was always encouraging them not only to be a better student, but a better person. Steve could get an angry student to reflect on a situation and deal with their feelings in a positive manner. Not only did he have a way with students, but parents also. He could walk into an IEP meeting with a parent who had a bone to pick, and in his calm voice diffuse the situation into a productive meeting. The parent leaving satisfied that everything was being done to provide support for their child. Where he saw a need, Steve filled it. I clearly remember a student preparing for his graduation. His family financially was unable to provide the apparel needed to meet the dress code: shirt, tie, dress pants, and shoes. Not only did Steve buy him the clothes needed for graduation, but he took him to Barnes & Noble and brought him some art and drawing books, which were the kid's favorite passion. Golf guy loved the game. Oh, how I wish cancer had not robbed him of the years of walking the greens, enjoying the game and the time he had earned to do so. It was an honor to have known Steve. He is one of those people you never heard anyone say a bad word about, because I don't believe I ever heard him say a bad word about anyone else. Jamie Berrigan coached with Coach Peck for 19 years. I want to thank Coach Peck for being such a great mentor as I started my coaching career at Raytown South. Players wanted to play for him and coaches wanted to coach with him. He taught me that teaching players baseball was more than just the game itself. I'm thankful for all the wonderful lessons he taught me. Sarah Warner, student in one of Coach Peck's CWC classes. My relationship started with Coach Peck in the CWC class in 9th grade. I sat in the back of the class next to him. Quite honestly, the class was really boring. So I would do my homework during class, and Coach Peck was always laughing and giving me a hard time. That was the only class I ever had with Coach Peck, but he always knew my name in the hallway and always knew how I had done in my softball games. He cared. I always felt like one of his special students. Coach, we will never forget you. You did your life calling well, and now you can rest. Pam and family, our condolences to you. We pray that you can find hope and lasting memories as you celebrate the life of such a great man.
Hey, Coach. How's it going? Man, it's been a minute. I just wanted to reach out to you and say thank you. Thank you for the things that you taught me throughout my high school career, and that the things that you taught me, I took with me throughout my pro ball career. The memories we'll have up at Ray South, I'll never forget them. Them 4 years up at Ray South were great. I enjoyed every single bit of them. We played great baseball, and we always had fun. I never forgot about you. I always thought about you when I was playing ball. I know it's been a minute since we talked, but I just wanted to reach out and say thank you. I love you, and I appreciate you.
Hey, Coach Peck, how you doing, man? It's been a while, man, since I talked to you or since I've seen you. But I just wanted to reach out to you and just really just tell you how thankful I am for you, man. I had a great 4 years at Raytown South High School. You were a wonderful baseball coach. I mean, you taught me a lot of stuff that I carry with me till this day in life, and that I took with me into professional baseball. Thank you for helping me realize that dream, and thank you for helping push me towards that dream. Each year I was there at Raytown South, you taught me a lot. You helped me grow as a baseball player and as a man, believe it or not, during those years in high school, man. So I just want to tell you I'm thankful for all that you've done for me. Still thinking about you. I've always thought about you since I left Raytown South. Haven't forgot where I came from. And I just want to say thank you, Coach Peck. You are just a great coach, man, and love you.
I think for kids to be successful in anything, it starts with a dream. If you don't dream it, that probably means that you don't want it bad enough. And if you don't want it bad enough, you won't work hard enough to achieve that dream. It's hard to prepare for it, but it starts out with a dream and knowing that you have to work hard to get there and you have to work hard to stay there.
Tribute to Our Dad by Laura, Brad, and Sarah Peck. We would like to preface and express our gratitude to all of those who have lost a parent and shared your strength with us as the day grew closer that we would lose our own. Although you can't be 100% prepared for what that kind of loss will bring, you can be 100% supported and loved along the way. And for that reason, we thank every single one of you. We also want to express our gratitude to our dad, who, despite everything he was put through these last 11 years, prepared and guided us to becoming the best versions of ourselves. The influence he had on our lives did not stop at the door of our household, and we know that many of you feel the same way about him. So to honor our father and the Steve Peck legacy, we thought we might share some pieces of life advice from our dad, or as we like to call them dadisms. Number one, if you have a candy bar while your friend is around, split it and give your friend the bigger half. No smoking, and keep your nose clean. Never put money in your mouth. Advice directed to us as children to prevent trips to the emergency room due to swallowed coins, although he failed to mention to Brad not to put medicine capsules in his nose, or Sarah not to put stickers in her nose. But that's another matter. Make sure the dancing girls or boys are gone by the time we get home. And number 5 is ketchup. A cup of ice makes a good snack. Polo shirts and sweatpants do go together, especially if you're going out for a nice meal. Likewise, there are benefits to wearing multiple pairs of pants at one time. Need to go fishing right after your fancy dinner? Just peel off the top layer and you're ready to go. Separating your food out on your plate is a waste of time, since it all goes to the same place anyway. Number 10, ketchup. Life cereal is a perfectly fine alternative to cat food if that cat is hungry and you can't find the food. Everything is funnier if said in a Donald Duck voice. Always do your push-ups and sit-ups in the morning. And how about some ice cream? And number 15 is ketchup. Cars don't come with drums. If some good music comes on, just use your steering wheel as the drum. Make sure the sound of your sneeze sounds like you're saying bless you. That way no one has to do it for you afterward. Household problems can be solved with new inventions. Tired of breaking your back with a standard snow shovel? Just invent a new giant one out of the leaf of a table and 2 2x4s. Don't put things off. Common example that Dad always used was to eat your vegetables first, especially peas and Brussels sprouts, and then enjoy the main course. Number 20 is ketchup. Even the smallest of packages could contain a bass boat if you want it bad enough. Never walk the leadoff batter. It's a recipe for disaster. If you're not happy with where you are, make a change. Leave a place or a person in better condition than how you found them. Number 25 is ketchup. If you have the choice, ride your bike wherever you go. Enjoy the journey of life. Just do your best, cherish the downhill coasts, power through the uphill struggles, and don't forget to smell the flowers along the way. Occasionally, you'll get a popsicle for all the hard work you put in. Try your best, and if losing makes you mad, use that energy to resolve to do better next time and say, I'll get them next time. Never give up or say the words, I can't do it. If you want it enough and you give it your all, you can do it. Dad's advice has carried us, each of us, through some of the most pivotal life lessons and will continue to do so for the remainder of our lives as Steve Peck's children. When it came to athletics, he taught Sarah, no matter how small you physically are, mentally you can be as big as the best as long as you don't make excuses and you keep trying. You are truly your own roadblock to becoming the athlete and the person you want to be. Don't ever forget how great you are and how great you will be. He taught Brad that empathy and compassion can go a long way in discarding subconscious negative expectations we hold against each other and ourselves. No matter how hard it may seem, extending that kindness can change a person's life and view of all those around him, including your own. Dad's influence followed Lori to medical school, and his valiant fight against cancer taught her what it truly means to care for people, to protect them from the imperfect and sometimes chaotic nature of biology, but also to protect them from falling through the cracks of our imperfect and frequently chaotic medical system. And that while statistics in medicine are based on people, people are not statistics. Dad taught us that courage is often quiet and that resilience is a force to be reckoned with. Our dad wanted to live, said he could despite the odds, and so he did. How fortunate we all are to have known this incredible person, and how fortunate are we to have a dad like ours.
hovering above. Just a flock of birds. It's how you think of love. And I always look up to the sky, breathe before the dawn. 'Cause they fly away. Sometimes they arrive, sometimes they are gone. They fly on. Flock of birds, hovering above. In the smoke I'm turn and rise, following them up. Still I always look up to the sky, breathe before the dawn. 'Cause they fly away. One minute they arrive, next you know they're gone. They fly on. Maybe one day I'll fly next to you. Fly on, right through. Maybe one day I can fly with you. Fly on. Fly on.
Hi, it's Brad Clausen. Pam had asked me if I would read a poem that I had written for Steve for his 40th birthday back in 1991. It was actually 29 years ago this week. So on August 3rd, 1991, I gave this to Steve for his birthday. The poem is called Forever Young. Most lives are marked by milestones, a marriage, a child, a game. And turning 40 for most men means they will never be the same. 40 is just a number, life's tall ladder, one small rung, and age is just a state of mind for those forever young. Some men are gifted with an arm, others with blinding speed. A head for the game is also nice, or the ability to lead. Add these together in a pot and throw in the heart to win, and you have all the ingredients of a man among men. This recipe has been used before: Mays, Jim Brown, Ali, Babe Ruth, and Jack Nicklaus, Steve Peck, if you ask me. But greatness is not marked in feats. It is judged by time, by years. Hard work and practice build men who travel their own frontiers. Athletes aren't just folks who play, but heroes are much more. Their example to others is powerful, and they always know the score. So here's to you, my dear friend, and I surely hope you know that in my eyes you are the best. Thanks for keeping me in tow. This is a story of a man, of a hero, though unsung. A man they hail Steve the Peck, a man forever young. I love you. Hi, it's Brad Clausen.
an amazing life. It is difficult, perhaps, to take into consideration the breadth and the depth of who Steve was and the influence that he had on many people. Each of us have our own memories, our own thoughts, our own events that we recall. To me, the most vivid memory I have of Steve that is embedded in my heart and my mind is his teaching and his coaching. To be involved in a classroom where some kids are simply learning basic life skills and how to cope in their world, Steve gave himself to those kids. In the world of athletics, where students had skills that could possibly take them to the next level and fulfill their dream, Steve committed himself to those kids. He walked, he lived, he thrived in both worlds and in many worlds. The common element for Steve, to me, is that he saw potential. He saw potential in the lives of those students, and he brought to bear his influence and his care for them. That memory is embedded in my heart and my mind. I will miss him, and I will remember him. To Pam, Lori, Brad, and Sarah, in the moments tomorrow and in the moments next week, when the memories come suddenly, unexpectedly, and feelings of loss and even loneliness seem overbearing, you allow those moments to flood over you, to be aware that Steve is still with you in your heart and in your thoughts. It is the presence of grace that brings calmness and gentleness and peace to those moments. Allow others to share those moments with you. It is those times that the grace and peace of Jesus can be present with you. Most vivid and real expression of God's grace comes in relationships shared and nurtured. It is the grace of God and the gentle presence of the Christ that can sustain you, keep Steve's memory alive in your hearts. When the loss seems unbearable, overwhelming, stop. Be aware of the quiet peacefulness that can come when you remember. Do not be alone. Others will care for you and give you a safe place to remember. May you be aware of God's grace in the presence of Christ, always with you. We've asked Ron Clark if he would dismiss us with prayer.
Our gracious and compassionate Heavenly Father, we are grateful for this time we've had to share in reflection, celebration, remembrance, and introspection. Lord, we thank you for the life of Steve Peck. We have been reminded of the imprint his life made on so many people. He emphasized work hard, keep improving, learn from your mistakes, always keep your emotions under control. He understood people may not always remember a skill or fact, but they will remember how they were treated. The character traits he expressed by being fair, patient, kind, peaceful, and all persons having potential and worth aided his relationship with others. Truly a gentleman Lord, we knew Steve to be a true believer, a person of faith, a follower of your Son Jesus. He never wavered in his convictions, always expressing goodwill, hopefulness, and gratitude for his relationship with your Son. May this be a testament to all of us. Father God, I pray special blessing upon Steve's family as they continue to move forward in life. May your Holy Spirit of comfort, guidance, and companionship bear with them. May they be made aware of your constant closeness. May the memories of time with Steve bring happiness and laughter, good feelings, and thankfulness, continually encouraging and strengthening them. And now may the words of the Apostle Paul to the Philippians be our experience as we leave. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Amen.
And no matter how I try, as the season passes by, I sit and wonder how and why I lost my one and only you. As pretty colors of ice and snow as ever all to see, and all the days of red and gold have all turned blue for me. Ooh, autumn, there's a rainbow in the sky, and no matter how I try, I can't get over losing you. Now all my autumn will be blue. And there's me.